All right. So here we are. We back. Purpose Vision. TJ.
Schemes.
Drew.
SB.
All right. So today we going to get into how do we keep our identity intact when it comes to, interacting within relationships and friendships. Sometimes who you are, your character is tested, right? Depending on the environment that you're in. So what we're going to talk about today is, how do I stay in my identity, in my character, regardless of who I'm around? I guess, for those of y'all here that have that experience, being in relationships, interacting, and seeing sometimes how you have to shift and adjust to meet the needs of another person. How do you stay true to yourself while still trying to be and show up for somebody else?
I'll jump into this because I find that it's a great question, and I feel like it goes in tiers. Mm-hmm. Number one, depending on where you are in your life. Mm-hmm. And like you said, number two, depending on a relationship. And I say that to say, I'll speak for myself. I find that for those who have known me for over a decade, I feel like I've still been pretty consistent. I'll see people and I'll be like, yo, you the same, mm-hmm. Sean. But I also feel like I've had moments of playing a character, right? We've all had a character, and I find you get into a relationship and what you think is your foundation gets a little rocked because now you have to adjust for the other person. Mm-hmm. And if the relationships that don't work out, I find, is that you see something in yourself that you maybe didn't see before, and it forces you to pivot. But for some people, you may not be mature enough for that moment yet.
Will you run that back?
Okay, so I got you. I'll give you an example. You get in a relationship, very black and white. You out with your boys all the time. You get into a relationship, and your shorty's like, yo, you don't need to be out
with your boys all the time.
All your time, right? And you still feeling like, yo, why are you trying to change me, right? But
you met me this way.
But you met me this way. But also part of that reality is, who were you going out for all the time? What were you going out for all the time? Part of that may have been because of the character that you've been playing and also the goal at the time. Half the time the goal is gal. So once you already get the gal, is she that wrong for wanting you not to? I don't agree with cold turkey stopping, but reeling that part of your character in is not far-fetched because you actually start to learn more about yourself the minute you stop thinking about yourself. And I find when we're single, we think a lot about ourselves, right? Mm-hmm. You get into a relationship, you got to think about somebody else now. Yeah. So it's almost like you do a slight pivot, but then you actually start to learn, like, wow, I guess I didn't need to be outside that much. Well, and then you take a couple of weeks from being outside, and you're like, yo, I don't know if I'm missing that much. But when you do get a chance to go outside, it's wonderful. You know
Fun time USA.
So to me, I use that as an example because it's a fun example. I feel like we've all been through a tier of that. Yeah. But it could be other things. It could be stuff about yourself. You might have thought you were a patient person, and then you realize, like, oh, I am really not. I've only had patience when it's convenient.
Right.
Right?
Or doses.
Exactly. And you get tested when you get into a relationship, or when you become a parent, or when you even get serious about a job role. Because when your job goes from a job to a career, the whole thing shifts. Yeah. Like when you go from high school to college. High school, your teacher got to tell you to do your homework. In college, nobody gives a shit. Yeah. You don't do your homework, you fail. That's it. And now you got to pay.
Right.
Now you got to pay. So now it starts to be like, oh man, was I ever this person? Was I ever a good student? Or do I now have to learn how to be a good student? You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Was I really a patient individual? Or now that I'm with someone, like, oh man, she's actually teaching me how to be patient, right? So I think when it comes to that in relationships and friendships, like that's the adjustment, but you continue to find yourself within that relationship, even if it's for a season. And Tim, you were married first out of everybody, so I feel like I can't wait for you to answer because we grew up together, so I got to watch Tim be such a reliable source for support and information, but I also got to watch him kind of change and adjust and grow. Because then my boy started to experience stuff, and I'm like, yo, he gave great advice about this before he experienced this, and now he's experiencing it. he's handling as best he can, but now the real life adjustment is happening, and it's like, yo, now I get to see now I can be there for him. You see what I'm saying? Which taught me about myself.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So I'll pause there, but I love this question. I think it's wonderful.
For me, I say, for whatever reason, I never struggled with identity in relationships. I don't know how I got there, but I think I've always been like pretty laser focused on like goals and objectives. So even though relationship does end up taking a lot more of your time, I feel like I had like some type of internal radar where if it's like I'm spending too much time away from my goals and the shit just starts going off. Kind of how that Roku remote was going off the other day earlier. My body just starts making that noise, and I'm like, all right, cool, I got to get back to what I need to do. I think the one thing I did struggle with was I didn't know necessarily how to communicate that to my partner, but I was disciplined and like, nah, I need to do this. So the growth for me has been in relationships has been like understanding that it's a partnership. This is what it is. You know what I mean? Friendships is the one where I struggled though a lot. Friendships I struggled with a lot because I'm the people pleaser type of guy. You get what I'm saying? Like if we go out to a spot, you were talking about, you know, turning up and stuff, like I feel bad not like taking people home, especially if we both live in the same borough, like Brooklyn, right? Even if one is in Canarsie and I'm in Flatbush, it's like that's pretty far away from each other. You know what I'm saying? But it's still, I kind of feel that obligation. So low key, when I came to Jersey, I was like, yes, thank God, because there's no way like now it's justifiable. Now you won't think crazy of me.
Right.
To say no.
To say no, because you like, nah, he live in Jersey, so there's no way he would go to Brooklyn. You know what I mean? Yeah. So friendships is the one that I struggle with for a long time. Like I said, being that people pleaser, but as it stands today, I feel like I'm mature to like, just make the mistake and learn from it and messages that I got, like I was pretty timely with those messages. I think it's okay if I just take the day off. Yeah, take the day off, and then I'll hit them back tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? So relationships has been comparative or relatively speaking smooth sailing. Friendships was the one that was a little shaky because I'm a people pleaser.
But before you guys go, and this is a question for everybody, what age would you consider? Would you say you had your first like real relationship that you, everybody knows when they start taking relationships seriously. What age was that for you? Because I'm just curious based on the way you
don't have
answer
to
that
answer
question.
that. You could just write it and show it to me.
Why did I not answer? Oh, because of the audience?
I don't know your business, my brother. Just write it down, show it to that brother.
You telling me there wasn't a relationship?
Word. For me, like 12 years old, man. No, I'm just playing. 21, I would say.
Okay.
When I think I was like 20. It might have been 20, yeah.
Better watch that timeline.
Yeah.
Right.
Nah, it might have been like 19.
Take your time, brother. Take your time.
The year just keeps getting...
Drink the water. Take your time.
What would you say your age is?
Yo, he's a good friend. I like that.
I
He said
think
just
my
write it
current
down.
relationship is the first time I ever took relationship seriously.
Honest answer, and then do I have? I don't want to assume.
So I think to the level of being married, I would say, well, how old was I? 22, 23.
Yeah.
When like at that point where I'm like, yeah, this is where I'm heading. So it's another level. Because dating relationships, a lot of times it's like, okay, I want to get to know you, you want to get to know me. You figure out, all right, this ain't long run, right? But for me personally, when you get to that point where it's like, okay, now I'm going to start thinking for the rest of my life, that's a whole nother level. And I only got to that level then, right? I didn't do that at 17 and 16 or whatever, right? So that's how I'm going to answer that, but I'm going to kick it back.
And the reason why I ask, I mean, for me, I feel like it's tough, right? Because I met wifey when I was 16, but I feel like I made extra effort in the relationship I had when I was, like I made effort, but it was just the maturity just wasn't there. I always tell her, like, you were so ahead of me that I feel like I thank God that we separated. But it was my second real relationship at 19 or 20 that I was like, yo, you got to work. You got to work. So that's the reason I asked, because your answer was profound, but like just a lot more mature than I think my mind was. And that's why I was like, I assumed it was in your either late teens or 20s based on your answer. So I was just curious, because that plays a factor too on how we work through those things. So
no, it definitely does.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, good schemes.
Well, for me, I think I think I'm the opposite of you. I think.
What does that mean? Oh, like
I think for the most part, in my friendships, I've kept my identity. It's been a challenge in relationships.
Oh, okay, got you.
I'm a person who, I've always gone out, spent all hours outside hanging out with friends. Sometimes we could just be playing ball, going to fetes, going here, going there, car stuff. And then now that, I started living with my shorty, it's different. So now you can't go out and spend all hours like I once did. Now it's like, all right, where you at? And I feel as if, sometimes in the beginning it felt like, you're living with your mother. It's like, all right, where you at? What time you coming home? You out there? You hate all of that.
Yeah.
So for me, I feel like my identity kind of shifted in the earlier stage of my relationship while living together. And I guess that affected my friendships as well. Because some of the friendships I've had, we spend those long hours together talking, hanging out, and then, try to appease your lady. You try to cut back on some of that, just so it's not an argument in the home.
Yeah.
So I guess my identity kind of, shifted based on that.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people could probably relate to that too. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I still have some challenges in relationship. Yeah. I singular, not plural.
Good catch. Good catch.
You know what I'm saying? Relationship,
Catch
right?
it, buddy.
Like there's some things that still come up, but for the most, figure it out.
You're good.
Cut to the
Nah,
next
you good. You good. Word.
You
But
can
nah.
sleep right here, bro. It's all right. You all right, man. You got that.
But nah, I think for me it's interesting because I feel like I had to struggle in both aspects, but at two different times in my life, right? So when I was younger, my identity in friendships was pretty simple and straightforward. I was who I was, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I didn't shy away from who I was, right? Back in the day where I'm like, yeah, man, I'm waiting to marriage to have sex and all that stuff. People was looking at me crazy. It ain't shake me one bit, right?
was a
But
good time.
for me,
For me, watching that joint, it was like
no, but the
stressful.
thing is, it's crazy because back then, it didn't phase me at all, bro. Because I'm like, yo, this is me. Like, you know what I'm saying? Take it or leave it. You know what I'm saying? I'm doing my thing. This is who I am. Cool. Relationships on the flip side, it was hard, right? Because it's like, yo, who do you need me to be for me to make you happy, right? Because one of the things that I struggle with, as confident as I was in myself for myself, I lacked that confidence in who I would be for a person. So it was coming back to that. People pleasers, like, okay, who do you need me to be?
Yeah.
I'm gonna do that at all costs. So that way I can be accepted, I can be wanted, I can be loved, because in a relationship, I need to be who you need me to be. and I couldn't really be myself. So if back then it's like, okay, what do you look for? It's like, I just want someone to love me. That was my answer. I didn't actually have an answer in terms of what I want. Don't want someone tall, short, big, small. Yeah, you have your preferences, but when it really boils down to it, like what were my deal breakers?
Yeah.
I didn't really have any, which is crazy to think about, but I didn't really have any. So, even getting married at the time, it was a lot about, okay, who do I need to be for you to be happy with for the rest of our lives, right? Whereas friendships, it was like, yo, I am who I am.
Yeah.
Now, fast forward now, when I was married in that relationship, I had to go through the changes to be who she wanted me to be, to the point where I didn't even recognize myself. And that then started to impact my friendships, because the people that knew me all my life is like, yo, who are you, bro? You still the same person, but like this ain't like you. You know what I'm saying? But then I can't even explain to myself because I don't even know who I am anymore. So now I'm in this situation where my friends now don't recognize me the same. The person that I'm with, I'm just trying to be what they need me to be, and now I'm lost, right? Now, thankfully, I'm in a place where I'm getting back to level setting on both ends, right? Because now it's like I saw how my life derailed in certain aspects from not having that sense of who I was holistically, right? Because it's easy to deal with, let me not say easier. It's one thing to deal with friends based on, well, I don't live with you, right? I don't see you every day. I don't talk to you every day. And even if I do, it's to a certain extent, right? But when I'm going through life with a partner, that's a whole nother level where your identity almost morphs with that person because y'all two become one in a marriage, right? It ain't about what I want. It's about what we want, right? So that I leaves your vocabulary instantly.
Yeah.
And
It's
for a lot of
supposed to.
people, it's supposed to. And for a lot of people, it's hard, because some of it could be like you didn't really take enough time to understand the person that you're about to take that step with. Sometimes through growth and maturity and just life in general, certain things can happen that can almost shift your perspective, right? For y'all that have kids, now having kids, I'm pretty sure there are things that you never thought you would think or go about certain things a certain way. You're doing it and you're even surprising yourself. But you would never know that until you had a kid, right? Yeah. So for me now, it's keeping my identity. It's like we talked about in the episode, right? What is my anchor? What is my North Star, right? And allowing my friendships and relationships to either grow as I am who I am, or allowing them to dissipate if they don't align, and being okay with that. Because a lot of people aren't, right? It's like, well, we've been friends since second grade, third grade. Like, we have to keep it going. So I have to now adjust who I am to accommodate who you're trying to be, even though it don't fit no more. Whereas back in the day, it didn't matter. Priorities are different. Life was different. We're not doing the same things back then. So that's how I do it, man.
Where does that come from, do y'all think? Like, why do I struggle with the identity in friendships, and then some of y'all struggle with identity in relationships? Like, what does that come from? Like trauma, childhood trauma? Like, where is that? Why does that happen?
Silly sayings like "happy wife, happy life."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Taboo expectations.
It
stereotypes.
It definitely put pressure on me.
Yeah.
The whole happy wife, happy life thing, because I'm like, and I feel like you felt that too.
Yeah.
Like literally, that's what I heard when he said it. Was just like, let me do everything to make her happy, and it could, I don't blame society, but like that society pushes that your wife is happy, everything should be good, to a degree.
Yeah.
But like, don't forget about yourself. And I find you do have moments, and now Skeen, as a parent, I'll just look at you, where you lose yourself a little bit in your family, right? Where I made the comment of like, me and my girl are good, but like I didn't get to hug her. And I didn't realize that because we were just so focused on the girls. You know what I'm saying? And I gave her a hug, and she like hugged me back so hard. And I'm like, yo, you good? She was like, yeah, you just felt like you haven't hugged me in a little while. And I was just like it was weird. I was like, yo, come a little closer. You know what I'm saying? But like, you kind of get lost in the sauce. But sometimes that happens negatively, where you just bend too much because of the whole happy wife, happy life thing. And in the relationship part, I think that was a struggle in the beginning where I was like, yo, if my girl's happy, I think we should be good. And then I started realizing I wasn't being vocal about it. Like, yo, like I'm feeling like I'm not being genuine with you in certain areas because I'm scared to rock the boat because we have such a good thing. But we have such a good thing, but it's not, it's
What is the
false.
thing? Yeah.
Right. What is this thing, right? Because I'm not fully 100% happy all the time.
Yeah.
You know, so you had to have those discussions. And I think with friendships, for the most part, it's been a little bit easier because we've cultivated a culture where we can be forthright. We've had a couple of rocky moments, but like I love my boys, you know what I'm saying? So like it's that fine line of like you got to know when to let go, but like if I can see an opening to not let go, I'm not
Right.
going to let go unless you just like, yo, you good. And then it's all good. I'm not going to sit there and like be depressed about it. You feel me? But at the same time, like my boys are my boys, you know what I'm saying? So if I can figure out how to mend, I'm a mend. If not, I'm a let you go without any hate in my heart, any malice in my heart. But like that has to be clear too. You know what I'm saying? Because like I feel like it's poison to hold grudges, and I feel like I had to let go of a couple of grudges I didn't know I was holding within the last year or so. And I still don't really talk to these dudes, but like I let go of why I stopped talking to them because I really genuinely hope they're good, but I don't need them in my space anymore.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And Loki, I'm gonna just add this. I think to your point, why is it so hard? Depending on the relationships and the friendships, from my opinion, I think it comes from a place of fear, right? Whether it's fear in what's gonna happen in this relationship, or fear what's gonna happen in these friendships, or you know, if you're talking about like work, fear what's gonna happen, right? So it's like you get into this. Okay, who do I need to be so that way you want me around? Because I firmly believe that everyone has this innate wanting to be accepted by someone or something or others, right? No one wants to feel like they're an outcast and no one understands them, right? So depending on what's important to you in that moment, whether it's your relationships or your friendships or both, right? You're almost like, I don't want to rock the boat with my relationship. And then now we ain't in a good place. And now I got to deal with what that could look like. Whether we separate, we break up, you know, it's tension and argument. So you know what? Let me just be who you want me to be. Right? Same thing with friendships. Yo, we have history, or I don't want to be the cornball, or I don't want to be the outcast, or I want to keep getting the invite to the cookout. So let me just show up the way y'all want me to, so that way I can be accepted. So for me, I think that struggle comes with being afraid of really being seen for who you are, like the real you. And yeah, you kind of just, you bend and twist to please that other person, you know?
You said something earlier. Sorry to jump.
No, you good.
You spoke about you didn't know what you used a different word, but your non-negotiables were. And
Deal breakers.
Deal breakers.
Yeah.
And I realized like we don't overthink that in friendships, because when you're young, everything is just, especially for guys,
Proximity.
It's very
Who they
straightforward.
around,
It's
yeah.
proximity. But as you start to get older, start to realize like, yo, I do have non-negotiables, not only in my intimate relationship with my lady, but also in my friendships.
Yeah.
So we all know a tall, handsome, light-skinned brother that we went to college with, and he's an awful texter.
Yeah.
Right? But it's not a non-negotiable for me,
Yeah.
but it's annoying.
Yeah.
But once I've accepted him for that, but there are maybe a couple other things, if he did, I'd be like, yo, bro, I'll bring it up. And if I bring it up and you still on that same kind of timing, I know it's time to phase out. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So I think that's like a prime example of like, I can accept that. You know what I mean? But like there's certain things where I'm just, at this big age that we at, like you accept me for me to a degree. But if there are things that I do you don't agree with, you got to tell me if it's something I can adjust, because it's something maybe I don't need. That's a part of my being that I didn't know. Then I'm happy to adjust.
Right.
But if it's just like, this is me, like I have high energy sometimes.
Yeah.
If you can't handle that and it bothers you that much, then maybe our time is up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because I'm always going to be
You.
me. I'm always going to
Real.
be a level of lit. You know what I mean? But I'm a dad now, so I also like the rest. You feel me?